Have you ever felt like you're someone else? Have you ever woken up startled from a dream, and in that brief space between your unconscious and conscious mind, have you ever panicked at the thought of whose body you're inhabiting? Most of us will understand this experience and will all equally appreciate that brief, terrifying moment of fear that follows it. But what if that was your life every single day? What if every morning you woke up and that feeling of not knowing who or which body you're in doesn't disappear in an instant, but instead continues for days, sometimes weeks? Well, as chance would have it, that mysterious place, known only as the SCP Foundation, has one entry in particular that may shed some light on the matter. So, I guess we better take a look. Hello Internet, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the most inquisitive channel on YouTube, Life's Biggest Questions. As per usual, I'll be your disembodied floating voice, Jack Finch, as today we curiously ask the question, what if SCP-2644 was real?
I have to believe that when my eyes are closed, the world's still there. Do I believe the world's still there?
For the curious amongst you, that scene was from the resounding movie Memento, written and directed by Christopher Nolan and released way back when in the year 2000. And for those of you that have already seen that film in particular, you'll know that the inner workings of Leonard Shelby may offer an interesting insight into the implications of this particular anomalous entity. Also, it's just an awesome film for the most part, so yeah. Any excuse really. Nevertheless, the role that a consistent consciousness plays in understanding oneself and also leading a relatively normal lifestyle is often taken for granted because, as Memento so vividly portrays, not knowing who you are or what you've done on a day-to-day basis is a struggle of eternal torment. But like many things, the SCP Foundation may have already taken that concept one step further. As the record states, SCP-2644 is an incorporeal consciousness, otherwise not of this physical plane, that each day will replace the consciousness of a random human being between 15 and 55 years of age. This transfer occurs during periods of unconsciousness between the current and target host, primarily during periods of sleep, although a subsequent transfer will also occur if 2644's current host is killed or otherwise incapacitated. If the anomalous entity avoids sleep, it can stay within a single given host for several days before succumbing to sleep deprivation and fatigue. Thankfully, previous hosts of SCP-2644 have no recollection of the experience and do not display any further anomalous properties once the entity has relinquished possession of them. Yeah, it's already a pretty terrifying notion, isn't it? The thing that makes this entry so damn intriguing though, and also equally disturbing, is the fact that the entity itself is in correspondence with the Foundation via a secure email account that the organization uses to track the IP addresses of the entity's most recent host. As the entity wakes up in body after body of different people all across the globe, it logs into an email account and describes to the best of its ability who and where it is to a remotely stationed researcher. Even more disturbing though, which is revealed after scouring through the SCP-2644 entry, is that it is suggested that this particular anomalous entity was previously under direct containment by the Foundation, which can only really point to one thing. This anomalous phenomena may be an entity of the Foundation's own creation. And essentially that's the point of this entire question, because what we should really be looking at is the possibility of something like this ever happening, and more importantly, it points to the scientific capability that one day your consciousness could perhaps become just as incorporeal as the anomalous entity in question. And under the wrong set of circumstances, that's a far more terrifying reality than even the SCP Foundation could imagine. The fact of the matter remains, as of 2019, the possibility of mapping and quantifying human consciousness is rapidly becoming a very real scenario, and whilst that sounds like an awesome future to boldly step into, with it also comes a whole swathe of hypothetical pitfalls and ethical problems, several of which could perhaps end in a scenario similar to the anomalous torment of 2644. First, however, we need to understand how the human mind could ever be captured in the first place. Our brains, which are otherwise grey lumps of fatty tissue, contain around 100 billion individual brain cells known as neurons. It is estimated that the number of connections that can occur in the human brain are in the quadrillions or a million billion. As brain activity occurs and electricity and chemicals are passed between these brain cells, our neurons send signals to each other, and thus, as they cascade from signal to memory to an entire network of neurons that form links with each other, firing simultaneously, we have conscious thought. We think, therefore we are. However, from a technical perspective, the inner mechanics of the brain are relatively straightforward to fabricate. You see, because we know what components make up the human mind, just like popping open the hood of an old car or an extraterrestrial spaceship, we know how to replicate them. It's just going to take an incredibly long time. Many scientists firmly hold the belief that at some point in the near future, the entire human brain will be fully mapped, forming what is referred to as the connectome, the Rosetta Stone of the human mind, and perhaps the gateway to a situation similar to that of 2644. Because if, in this hypothetical scenario, the brain can be replicated and digitally created, it poses a very perplexing question. If consciousness lives inside an artificial machine, a computer of sorts, is it technically alive? Would it be considered human, regardless as to whether it had any kind of physical form? What if in several decades from now, a group of researchers uploaded the consciousness of a willing volunteer to a machine for the first time in scientific history, and the human race rejoiced at the thought of digital immortality? Say that this brand new consciousness could communicate to the researchers through some form of visual platform, and after testing it copiously, the possibility of uploading human consciousness to a machine was considered a complete success, and our civilization stepped into a bright, brave new world of both synthetic and physical life. But then, what if after those experiments were conducted, one particularly clumsy researcher accidentally tripped on the cord that was powering this consciousness machine, and suddenly that human machine mind went poof, disappearing behind the buzz of a blank monitor? Where would that consciousness go? What if it was already connected to the internet? Where would be its destination? Would it be cursed to roam the digisphere that connects our global population, frantically searching for a human vessel to call a home, desperately trying to understand who or what it is, but never being able to contain its incorporeal self for long enough? Yeah, that's a terrifying thought alone, isn't it? Well, there we have it, our roundabout answer to the horrifying question, what if SCP-2644 was real? What did you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below, as well as any intriguing insight that you may have to add to the matter. Before we depart from today's video, let's first take a quick look at some of your more resounding remarks from over the past few days. TigerX101 says, what if consciousness transference was a thing? Hey, look at that. That's pretty convenient, isn't it? Cheers, TigerX101. And finally, 10,000 pounds of sloth cigars says, yay, it's Jackaboy. And yay, it's 10,000 pounds of sloth cigars. Okay, legit my favorite screen name of all time. Well, on that note, unfortunately, that's what we've got time for in today's video. Just stick around all the way until the end. If you were a fan of this video, or just Life's Biggest Questions in general, then please be a dear and hit that thumbs up button, as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your disembodied floating voice, Jack Finch. You've been watching Life's Biggest Questions, and until next time, you take it easy.